And good afternoon on this beautiful day in Daytona Beach, Florida. This is Hubert Grimes here on the Judge Speaks. Glad to have you all out there as part of our listening audience. Those who are visiting with us through the Facebook opportunity, we are so excited that you can visit with us and you can see, actually see this face that's smiling, believe it or not, even in spite of the cold weather that we've been having here in Florida. But of course, we're not alone because I know that throughout the country it's been a pretty chilly week. But we're glad that we are, if it's as cold as it has been, I mean, Florida, we've been here down in the 20s. I'm talking about like the lower end 20s, like 21, and then with a feel like temperature that goes even further than that. And of course, that means that all the gardeners and the lawn care workers will be having a lot of work to do come spring because all the flowers in the yard got taken out by the cold weather. I mean, what else could happen at 20 degrees or at 15 degrees? And there were even snow flurries in certain parts of our community. But you know what? We're still glad and we're grateful because it could be far worse. A couple of our relatives have experienced, who live further north, experienced 10 inches of snow up in North Carolina or up in Boston, something like knee-deep snow. So we're just glad that we're making it through. It's warming up a little bit. We're told that Florida is one of those places that if you don't like the weather, hang around for a while. It's going to change, especially during this time of the year. So again, thankful to God that we have another day, and we're grateful that you all could join us here on the Judge Speaks. Got a great guest that's going to be coming up with us here a little bit later on in our program. But I want to take a moment to pause and to acknowledge that this is a very special month that we're in. We are celebrating Black History Month, Black History Month. And not only is it a great time to do that, but we are 100 years out from the creation of what was Negro History Week by Carter G. Woodson, Dr. Carter G. Woodson, the Association for the Study of that time of Negro Life and History, later became the Association for the Study of African American Life and History. And of course, who was one of his contemporaries, who was one of his co-founders at the time? None other than our very own Dr. Mary McLeod Bethune. They, along with other educators, found it important that we would celebrate the accomplishments of Black people. There were many folks, they would think about the time that they lived in. They were fighting this whole entire dynamic that Black people were worthless. Remember that following the Civil War, and I talked about this in one of my previous shows, but I gotta keep saying it over and over again because I want it to sink in, particularly to our younger listeners. After the election of 1876, which was the stolen election, which involved Rutherford B. Hayes, it came out ultimately, and Samuel Tilden. Hayes, of course, they cut a deal in the House when they could not get a majority vote, and they allowed for Tilden lost, Rutherford Hayes won, but he had cut a deal so that they will remove the federal troops from the South that had been enforcing the anti-slavery laws and also enforcing the changes to the U.S. Constitution, 13, 14, 15th Amendments. Well, following that, we see the advent of black codes, wherein opportunities for voting was pretty well eliminated. We saw the advent of lynchings taking place among black folks who, quote unquote, got out of their place, and all of the host of other reasonings. I think the Institute out of Birmingham has documented something like somewhere between 5,000 and 6,000 lynchings that took place, mostly in the South, during that time period. And we didn't see major changes take place until 1954 with the Supreme Court's ruling that separate but equal was unconstitutional on our Constitution. But what we have to understand is that during that window of time, there were those who continued to push forward. There were those who continued to create inventions and solve problems. I mean, there's a host of black folks who did so many wonderful things that not just benefited black people, but benefited this country. And so, documented by Dr. Carter G. Woodson and others, they got a chance to be able to celebrate the accomplishments of our people. And so even today, we are continuing to do that. We know that in the 1970s that it changed from Negro History Week to Black History Month. And let me just correct something that we hear some people who don't really understand how this thing came about. It started off as a week in February, and they agreed to do it during the birthdays of Frederick Douglass and Abraham Lincoln. That was how that was selected. They were both considered to be at that time the great emancipators. It was Douglass that challenged Lincoln to go forward with freeing the slaves. Douglass himself had been a former slave, but he was self-educated and learned, and as a result of that, he ended up uh, literally pushing and using every bit of his intellect to push Abraham Lincoln to do what was right and to declare the Emancipation Proclamation back in 1862 with an effective date of January 1st, 1863. So they documented that, and that was how we came up with the time period for which Negro History Week was started. It was not because February was the shortest month of the year. I know some people say that, but that's not accurate. It was because that week was chosen as falling between the birthdays of Lincoln and Frederick Douglass. And so beyond that, we expanded it in the 70s to Black History Month, and today we stand to celebrate. And I hope that all of my listeners out there will take time to celebrate each and every day in the month of February. Do something to educate yourself. Let me just give you a couple quick examples before I move to our guest, who himself is an educator. He's going to share some great info with us here in just a few moments. Um, we lost a great titan a couple weeks ago in the form of Dr. Gladys Wright. I know there's another name associated with that, but she was the creator and inventor of the global positioning system. A great mathematician in her own right from the time of her childhood. She helped to create the GPS system that we all use today in our cars, in our cell phones. They use it in airplanes. They use it in spaceships. She actually was able to calculate the exact circumference of the Earth, and as a result of that, created back in the 70s the first global positioning satellite system. That's what we call it today. But it was all because of her mathematical genius. Now, she passed a couple weeks ago. She's actually going to be laid to rest in Virginia, Petersburg, Virginia, this coming weekend. So I want to encourage you all to give Dr. Gladys she was in her 90s, she lived to be in her 90s, but great woman, great talent. Just one more example of the many creatives that God has blessed us with in our people, solving problems. We solved problems. Go back to the time of George Washington Carver. The South's economy was falling apart. Cotton was, of course, being destroyed by the boll weevil. But he came up with an alternative system, and that's where we get the growth and utilization of peanuts. Peanuts were able to help invigorate and fertilize the soil at the same time that became a plant, a stable for our economy, so that indeed the South was able to resurrect itself both agriculturally and economically. And so we look at all of those things that helped, where black inventors, black performers, I mean, you name it, we have a role to play. We are not where we are because somebody gave us something, contrary to what these super conservatives seem to want to say, and they've said it in a variety of places. Even our own governor has sought and worked hard to repeal diversity, equity, and inclusion in this state, but it was not because anybody gave us anything. Everything that we have achieved as black Americans, as people of the African diaspora, has been because we worked for it, we earned it, and I'm grateful for it. Now, I got a challenge for those parents and grandparents out there. A great way to teach black history. You can do it through postage stamps. Let that sink in for a moment. Postage stamps. A couple days ago, I had to speak for a group, and I realized I saw this framed postage stamps series that we have at the house, and it just triggered something in me to say, wait a minute, that's a great way to use that as a teaching tool. And so for those of you that want to find something to keep your kids busy or your grandkids busy, let them begin to search out postage stamps, the Black Heritage Series in particular. The first one to ever be admitted, or should I say featured on a postage stamp as a black American, was none other than Booker T. Washington, the founder of Tuskegee Institute. That happened back in 1940. The first black woman was actually Harriet Tubman, which happened back in the 1970s, followed by Dr. Mary McLeod Bethune, who often preferred to be called Mrs. Mary McLeod Bethune, but she was featured back in early 1980s. And so those stamps now, and most recently, I was actually at the post office last Thursday, and I saw that they had a new addition, and that is none other than Muhammad Ali. There are currently over 50 African Americans who have been celebrated and with their features on postage stamps, going all the way back to the time when postage stamps cost 3 cents. Now we know they cost a lot more than that. But I want to say to you that get with your kids, get with your grandkids, get with your nieces and nephews. It's a great way of coming up with, collecting stamps. I remember as a youngster, maybe around, I don't know, seventh, eighth grade, I had to do a stamp project. Well, those were more challenging in those days to find stamps about people and about and in that day they didn't require us to do it all on black people because there's only a few black people that had actually been featured. But now we've got over 50. So what would happen if you could get your kids to do that as a project and then to be able to find out information about those individuals, whether it be Hank Aaron, whether it be Jackie Robinson, whether it be um, James Earl Jones, whether it be the founder of, the writer, should I say, of Lift Every Voice and Sing, whether it be all of the host of different people in every category, from scientists to mathematicians to entertainers to athletes to political figures. Whitney Young, who also attended the same alma mater as I did. I think it's all of those are great opportunities for you to teach your kids and grandkids to be able to learn a lot about our history. Let's celebrate Black history each and every day of the month and make sure that we pass that on to the next generation as well. Well, we've got a Black history highlight coming to us right now in the form of Dr. Chester Wilson, who's going to be joining us. We're going to bring him on now as part of our discussion for today. Well-known gentleman here in the Daytona Beach area, active in a variety of different areas. Sometimes it's kind of hard to get on his schedule because he's a very, very giving person, very active, very involved, and of course, dear friend. And we just happen to be connected by the first of all Black Greeks, Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity.
Yes,
so
sir.
we're grateful, and he's just a recent president of our local chapter. And so I asked him what was he going to do with all his time now that he's no longer president, but in his role as immediate past, he's still working. He's still doing everything he can in order to make a difference here in our local community. So let's welcome to the Judge Speaks.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for taking time out of your schedule.
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, for those that don't know Dr. Chester Wilson, let's talk about him for a moment. How you became Dr. Chester Wilson, a Floridian no less, who grew up here, and of course we know highly educated in the local community, in the local colleges and universities. But I want you to give us your background.
So, as I tell people, I grew up in the beautiful metropolis of Palatka, Florida.
Okay.
You know where that is, right?
Of course.
So I grew up in Palatka, Florida, and moved to Daytona Beach in 1999. And upon moving here, newly married, my wife and I decided to support each other through our educational endeavors, and we did that. Helped each other to graduate college, eventually both earning our doctorate degrees, and now, fast forward, both teaching college.
How about that?
So it has been a long process, but we've supported each other through that, and I am fortunate to have graduated from Bethune-Cookman University and went on to St. Leo University and eventually Nova Southeastern, where I earned my doctorate degree. And that is what set me on this trajectory of higher education.
All right, all right. Well, before you got into the higher education side, I first met you when I was on the bench.
That is correct.
And you were working with, as I believe, as a clinical person with Stuart Marchman.
Yes,
And
sir. 20 years old.
Coming to court, working with very challenging clients who also were, I guess, because many of them were dual diagnosed between drugs as well as drugs, alcohol, plus mental health issues.
Correct.
And what was that experience like? Because now you were, heck, you must have been about 15 about that time. So it seems.
I was 20 years old
Okay.
when I first started working with them, when I encountered my first black male role model on the bench. And that was something to see coming from Palatka. And to be honest with you, with my background, of course, being raised up in the church, and my mother did not play that, I never even knew that they had places that they locked kids up for stuff like this. So that was
Okay.
new for me to see. And I can remember my first time walking into that facility and the doors shutting and hearing that sound lock.
It is a sound that
I look back now,
reverberates.
yeah, I
Yes.
look back now and I'm wondering, why in the world did I go back the second day? Because that should have been it. And I can remember even doing that first day, there was a physical restraint, and I'm thinking to myself, I did not come to fight. So that set me on a path where I was first introduced to you, and that job involved mental health and substance use. Kids who had gotten into drugs and alcohol, or either were diagnosed by mental health issues, and our job was rehabilitation.
Hmm.
And they were there for anywhere from 6 months to a year. And we were to basically do therapy and behavioral modifications with them, services. And through that, I started working in an entry level position and worked my way up, eventually becoming program director. And by the time I left that organization, I had worked to become the vice president of performance improvement services for them. So
Okay.
that was my introduction into the behavioral health field. And now, 25 years later.
How about that? But let's talk about that behavioral modification, because for some people they think that's where you strap them down and you hit them with some needles and drugs, and that's behavior modification. Or if you're old school, they think behavior modification is picking up a belt and putting it on their butt. So, talk a little bit about that and educate our public in terms of what does behavior modification entail.
Right. So those behavior modifications can actually go from minimum to maximum. So when you talk about at home, we learned
Hmm.
that sometimes that's through corporal punishment, and
Hmm.
then the most persistently and mentally ill individuals sometimes have to be medicated in order to calm them down. But at our level, for residential, moderate levels individuals, what we did was we had to employ and teach individual skills that they didn't have. So when you're talking about behavior modification, sometimes we assume that everyone was raised like us,
Hmm.
and that we were told how to act and how to behave and not to do things, when to do things. You can't consume that. In fact, there was someone I was listening to one time said, common sense is not so common until it's been taught.
Mm.
And so we assume that, one of the examples I give during training is you give a child a piece of candy, we expect the child to say thank you. When that child doesn't say thank you, we think that child is rude, hasn't been taught, and some of us will snatch our candy back until he
Yes.
learns to say thank you.
Hmm.
But what if that child wasn't taught to say thank you?
Wow.
What if the parents never taught that child? So we're expecting that child to be able to do something that they weren't taught to do. Now, this is no excuse for the kids who were just defiant and, presented behavioral challenges. This was us providing corrective behavioral actions to individuals who weren't taught or didn't know or were just introduced to the system. Now, as you move more further into the system,
Hmm.
this is where you encounter those individuals who were just openly defiant and show maladaptive behavior. So there's a continuum of modifications that we put in place, from redirection, therapy, to further isolation and incarceration, of course.
And that's the one that I guess you could say I dealt with probably for the most part was that last one.
Yeah.
If I couldn't get them to change one way, then I figured the proverbial adult version of time out.
Yeah.
And give them time to think about their conduct and their behavior. And I would say that the vast majority of those who we ended up having to detain generally got it
Hmm.
by but some took longer than others.
That is correct.
And now that's not to say everybody was perfect, because you got some that even at the, I recall one young man told me, I asked him, I just let him out. I think I just getting ready to sentence him. I think I sentenced him to time in the maximum facility that we had at the time, which was, I think it was 18 to 36 months. He actually got the maximum. And I remember asking him, where would he be at in 5 years? And I remember his response back to me was something, I'll probably either be in prison or I'll be dead. And I said, well, if you're speaking that over your life, I mean, is there anything else that can happen other than that? And he didn't seem to have a clue as to what I was talking about. And unfortunately, even after he got out, which was the 36-month piece, 3 months, so I mean, equivalent of equivalent of 3 years.
Correct.
He got out, and Lord, within 6 months, he committed some adult crimes and literally went to prison.
That happens.
Ended up with, like, I believe, something to the kin of about a 40-year sentence. So he's incarcerated, which means that his whole mentality is always going to be
incarceration.
Incarceration.
Right.
He will never get into the rhythm of having life. And he said his excuse was, well, my mama was a drug addict and my daddy was in jail, in prison, so I never learned. So when we think about the generational effect of things that we do as adults and how it influences our children, positive or negative,
right?
How does that seem to play into the whole, as we say, behavior modification notion?
Well, one of the things I learned, I remember when I first got trained to become a counselor, and I encountered my first group of individuals that I were counseling, and I was working with a clinician by the name of Mr. Stephen O'Dew. And he said to me some of the most powerful words that I tell now new counselors when they come in. You're going to have those ones that you can redirect. But then when you encounter those individuals who are just going against the grain and not going to change, he gave me a counseling technique, and he said those individuals you can't really change because they don't have any intrinsic motivation to change, any desire to change. He said at that point, he taught me of how to teach them how to survive in their environment that they're in. That at least when you encounter these things, here are some things to consider before you make that decision. Because as a counselor, if you think about it, what we want to do is teach you how to live in a world that is foreign to you. You're going back home to, unfortunately, to these parents who may or may not be involved, family members, or even an untoward environment. And so that goal is to teach you how to survive in that environment and hopefully to make right decisions when you're faced in that environment. It's not going to give you an excuse, because if you break the law, then there are consequences that go with that. But sometimes we are faced with individuals that really don't know how to survive in the environment in which they're living.
Yeah, so true, so true. Now, you continued on, as you said, you spent roughly, did you say 20 years?
20, still doing it now, just in a different, with SMA.
But
yes,
you evolved into another
yes.
level. So
yes.
Let's talk about how you evolved into that next level and what you're doing now.
Yeah. So upon leaving that, I was last the vice president of compliance services there, and I then decided that I was going to try this thing for myself at some point. So I ended up providing administrative oversight to an agency that was just providing infectious disease. And so one of the things that we started doing was adding to it the mental health and substance use piece. And so for the last 7 years, we worked to build this agency to provide those mental health and substance use services. Somewhere at the same time, a former professor of mine, Dr. Samson Oley, called me to send me some interns, and this was while I was with the previous organization, and he sent me those interns, and my job was to give them an introduction into the field. And I remember I had these interns, and I thought that it was probably the worst interns that I've had in my life. So I pick up the phone and I called Dr. Oley, and I was like, what happened when we were there? You didn't allow this and this, and it went all the way back to how you would kick us out of the classroom and how we would fail if we even presented half of the things that they're presenting. And Dr. Oley told me, if you think you can do a better job, come and teach.
Oh, wow. That's
and that was a challenge. And at that time, I also ran into a young lady that worked for Bethune-Cookman, Miss Cherie Orr. And the two of them came together and asked me about coming to teach. And that was back in Jeez, it seems so long ago. 2007.
Wow.
That was a long
Yeah.
time ago.
Yeah.
And since 2007, I started working at Bethune-Cookman, teaching the adult learning program.
Okay.
And from there, it transitioned into everything that I've done in the academia world, and now back teaching at Bethune-Cookman again in the
Okay.
College of Business for the Masters in Business and Leadership program.
But in addition to that, you also have spun off your own business enterprise,
I
and you
did.
got a number of different pieces that are under
That
your
is.
business enterprise.
That is. Somewhere between there, I had some extra time on my hand. I guess
Okay.
between being married, having children, and working all these jobs,
Okay.
I started a organization, a company, CW Consulting Firm, which consists of a training company that provides individuals licensures and certifications, and that can include from private investigation, security, mediation, CPR, case management. It's probably about 14 or 15 training programs that we offer for individuals to get licensed. And
Okay.
then I also created a platform, Dr. Wilson Speaks, which is my public speaking platform. So somewhere in between a day off, I actually go in and help to certify other folks within the field.
Okay. All right. So, folks, if you all didn't get that, and you connect the CW, okay, that was Chester Wilson. If you connect the CW Enterprises, it's to let you know that he's a businessman. He's an entrepreneur. In addition to being an educator,
Yes, sir.
in addition to being a community servant, in addition to being a husband and a father
Yeah.
and a mentor, and all of these different hats that he's able to wear. So
Yeah.
those of you that are out there sitting around and saying, "Oh, woe is me," and I don't know, I can't do this, I can't do that, or even if you have encountered a loss of employment, because that's one of the things that has occurred in the last year
Right.
since the new president has been in office at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. There have been a lot of folks that got laid off, that jobs got terminated, and particularly we've talked about the fact on some of the previous shows that it was the category of black female educators, educated
Hmm.
women were laid off at a higher rate
Hmm.
than any other group.
Right.
And but what you're saying is that even if you find yourself laid off from your current job or your job that you thought
Hmm.
was the end all, the be all, what you're saying to us is that you can land on your feet. And
And
then,
it,
I
it
used to like
it's
to
more simplistic than that. Use what's in your hands.
come on now, use what's
If
in
you
your
use
hand.
what's in your hands, it comes easy to us. You don't have to go and you don't have to struggle. For some of us, I can run my mouth, and
Hmm.
running my mouth actually has earned me a paycheck.
Okay.
For others, they're able to build things. We pay people to build things. We
Hmm.
pay people to do things for us. So don't go and create anything new. Use what's in your hands. And if you
Okay.
use what's in your hands, I think you can make it.
I actually heard that phrase was the basis for John Kerry,
Hmm.
for he and Latoya, who started their Culture View.
Hmm.
And he asked he said the Lord spoke to him that same question
Hmm.
when he wanted to say, what do we do to improve the image of
Hmm.
black men,
Hmm.
black male? And he said the black male, when he Googled it, it all said that it was showed all the negative
Right,
images.
right.
And he said that he wanted to do something about it. He said, well, what do you do? What can I do? He said, well, what do you got in your hand? And he had a camera.
Had a camera. And in fact, I'm glad you did that plug. Cultiview will be debuting this weekend. And I've had the pleasure of being there since its inception and serving as a board member for Cultiview.
I tell you what, one of the best experiences I've had.
Yeah.
In fact, they even put my picture up there. So, you know, in fact, where are we going to be hosting this year?
This is going to be in New Smyrna Beach.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So that's
Yes,
a good place
it's
to
on their
start.
website. Please go and check it out and be there.
You know, that's just an example of what again, using what you got.
Use what's in your hand.
Use what's in your hand.
Yeah, you'd be surprised of what people will purchase or services they will buy based on what you can do. You have an experience, you can turn that experience. If you think about it, is where we are now. A lot of people love good food.
Mm.
You know what they
Mm-hmm.
do? They acquiesce to what it is your taste buds are. Some of us who I was just sharing with you about buying a suit, there's someone out there who makes those suits,
Yes.
and there's someone out there who fixes cars. Find out what your skill set is. It's in your hand.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to stay in the lane that I can do.
Okay.
And I joke with my friends all the time. I have to work hard because I have to be able to pay for things.
Mm-hmm.
But I can make a keyboard talk a little bit.
Okay.
I can
Okay.
work with a microphone. I can do those things,
Okay.
right? I'm a church baby. I learned how to talk. But I
Right.
can do those
All
things.
right.
But if you tell me to fix your car, you might be in trouble. So I'm going to pay somebody to fix it.
Yes.
But that's a gift that someone has in their hand
Yes.
that I'm willing to pay for in order to get what I need.
And it sort of takes me back to even my childhood.
Hmm.
And I thought about how many times that during the era of segregation that we depended upon each other.
Hmm.
We traded, we bartered, we did things in order to help. I mean, I can't tell you how many times the neighbors came to the house and say, Miss Grimes, can I get a cup of sugar? Or Miss Grimes, can I get some
I
flour?
remember
Can I
those
get some
days.
eggs? And that was just how we helped support and strengthen each other,
Hmm.
how we survived. And not only survived, but thrived.
That's right.
And a lot of what you're doing now, in addition to like quote unquote having those businesses, is that the training that you're doing is
Hmm.
helping people to see how they too can make it.
Hmm.
I will tell you also, folks, that when I did my mediation training, that I had, now mind you now, I spent 25 plus years on the bench, the last
Yes.
14 of which were family law. But I had to get certified in order to be
Yes.
a mediator. And so I got the certification. And I'll shout out to Ida Wright, who's out there, because I was
Yeah.
actually just focused upon doing practicing law. And Ida told me one day, Judge, you need to go on and use your past skills and come on and get certified as a mediator. That was back in 22, I believe,
Hmm.
23. And so guess who ended up being my teacher and facilitator to get my license as a certified mediator in the area
Oh
of
my
family
God.
mediation? It was none other than Dr. Woodson.
That was one of the scariest times in my life. That was one of the scariest times in my life. I mean, imagine having a judge sitting in your class, and there was also a family magistrate in the
Yeah,
class.
yeah.
And you're talking about me sitting there teaching you all about mediation services. I'm like, oh, this is not going to go well. But you guys took it easy on me. You made
Well,
it worth it.
we did what we needed to do to get there, and so now, when he needs somebody to do a certain portion of the family mediation,
Yes.
he asked me to do it.
Yes, I do.
I'm happy to do it
Faithfully.
because it's really kind of a payback of saying to him, and it's amazing. I'm looking
Mhm.
in the at the screen in the background, and they actually have
Yes.
Dr. Carter G. Woodson
Yes.
flashing on the screen, which is what I was talking about at the initial beginning
Mhm.
here. 100 years later, here we are.
Wow.
But again, it's using what you got, okay? And even
Yes.
if they're explaining the exact origins
The
between
proclamation.
not other than fair, and this is on, I believe it's on NBC, but it's a
Mhm.
great little clip. So those of you that might want to see that on the what is it called, NBC News Now,
Mhm.
and that's how it you can get some. They've actually got it correct. There are a lot of people that don't have it correct, and they talk about it as we said earlier. But it's something that I
Mhm.
celebrate deeply, and the
Right.
origins of Black History Month. You can find it on NBC News Now. So, but getting back to what we're doing now,
Mhm.
because a lot of what your across the board training, you're actually training people to have jobs.
That was the goal of the training center, the CW consulting firm.
Okay.
It wasn't just for me to go out and make money. It was one of those silent prayers where I told God, every time I need a certification, I've got to travel far to get it,
Mm-hmm.
and now I got to pay for lodging and travel, pay for the certification itself, a week away from home. And
Mm-hmm.
so each one of those areas that I provide certification in, those were 40-hour trainings that I had to go and get from somewhere.
Okay.
And I remember when I did the mediation training, I did family and circuit civil back to back.
Yes.
So
That's 2 weeks.
that was 2 weeks of just sitting there and
Mm-hmm.
listening and getting certified. My private prayer to the Lord was that if you allow me to get these things, that I'm going to take them back home and I'm going to help individuals to get them. And what you hear me advertising now, you're with me now. I say, hey, you want to make $300 an hour? I can show you how to make
There you
$300
go.
an hour.
There you go.
And you already have the skill in your hand. So it's
Mm-hmm.
just a matter of you going through the motion in order to get there. And so that was my communication to
Mm-hmm.
God about what I wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to sit and wonder now, how can I make money? You
Mm-hmm.
can go and become a CPR instructor in 8 hours.
How about that?
So think about it this way.
Yeah. And I
You,
took the class from him
yeah,
for CPR training
that is
because
true.
I just wanted to
Yes,
have that CPR training,
that
that
is true.
capability, and a skill sets.
Yeah, but if you think about it this way, you go and become a CPR instructor, which takes you all about 8 hours to do.
Right.
And then you say, for instance, you go and get a contract with Halifax. Halifax have how many healthcare workers there? Probably about 1,000 or more healthcare workers there.
Mm-hmm.
You're charging roughly about $70 a CPR
Mm-hmm.
cert. So you've just made your
Just
money
look at the numbers,
for a few
folks.
months.
Look
So
at the numbers.
when I'm telling people to use what's in your hands, time out for the excuses.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's investing the time in order to get a return on your investment. The
Okay.
same is true with mediation, as I told you, $300 an hour. Security officers, you don't even have to settle being a security officer. Go through the 40-hour training. You can now become the security manager and start your own agency. I did that. That's
Okay.
one of those hidden things I have.
Okay.
I don't do
Nothing
too
wrong with
much
that.
there.
That's
Well, I
okay.
only do bougie security jobs.
Okay.
But
Nothing wrong with that.
but here it is that you can now go start your own security agency, private
Mm-hmm.
investigation agency,
Mm-hmm.
case management agency. There's so many things that you can do just by going through the training. You
And
can
see.
make the money
And what do you say? What's in your
using what's
hand?
in your hand. That's all I'm doing. I
Okay.
went and got all of these things. It's not because I'm going to do all of these things. It's I thought about it from this perspective. Well, I'm not going to go do it, but since I like to run my mouth, I'll be the trainer.
Okay.
And so now you're talking about continuous and residual income as a result of doing that. So
Okay.
that's what the goal was, to bring that back to our communities and have people become certified so that they can boost their professional portfolio.
And for those of you that may not be here in the Daytona Beach, Volusia County area that are watching this on screen or even on a playback,
Mm.
the same thing is true in your area as well. You can again look what's in your hand.
Mm-hmm.
Look what's in your hand. And if you really think about it, this is the month to reflect back on how many of our ancestors did the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
How many of them looked what's in their hands
Mm-hmm.
and they began to fix stuff.
That's right.
I think about Lewis Latimer and how Eli Whitney and before that Edison, they were they couldn't Edison couldn't quite get that thing right with the light bulb.
Mm-hmm.
He needed a filament.
Mm-hmm.
And Lewis Latimer ended up becoming the one that helped them to get the right filament, which we're still even using to this day.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I mean, and that's why it's so important to study Black history, because you'll see examples, folks, of people, our people who look like you, look like I, that were able to take the bad and turn it into something
Yeah.
good.
You just made me think that when you said using what's in your hand and how we survive, you made me flash back to my childhood.
Okay.
There was this mother in the church. Her name was Claudia Johnson,
Mm-hmm.
and she used to cook sweet potato pies out of our house.
Okay.
That was the best sweet potato pie
Mm.
I've ever had in my life.
Mm.
And she cooked those every year, made
Okay.
money cooking those.
Yes.
She didn't complain. She didn't about what wasn't coming to her. Everybody would line up to purchase those pies until she sold out,
Mm.
just by using what was in her
Using
hand. The
what you
best
got.
pie wasn't that I've eaten wasn't in the store.
Yes.
It wasn't that it was.
wasn't the one
It
in
wasn't.
Walmart.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't made by a
Wasn't
restaurant.
Patty. It
It
wasn't
wasn't a
Patty's.
patty pie.
Yeah.
But it was because someone was selling pies out of their house, and that's that excuse that example of using what's in your hand. Just think about, what am I good at,
Mm.
and then
Yeah.
just go and do that. I have an
Yeah.
aunt who's a seamstress.
Okay.
And every Alpha and I chapter goes to Aunt Frida to
Okay.
get their clothes tailored.
Okay.
She just used what was in her hand.
Okay.
And you just think about that just made me think about all of these things down through the years of people that we've used that provided a great service, that they're not the big stores on the corner. They're not the big restaurants that are on the corner, but it is those people right there in our neighborhoods.
You know, I'm going to actually change seats tomorrow here at this radio station. I'm going to actually be interviewed by Donna Banks.
No.
And one of the things that Donna and I've talked about, of course, you know, Donna also serves as the executive director for Midtown Community Development Corporation. One of the major projects is,
Right.
of course, the banners. And we're going to be talking about the significance of those who came before us as far as they're being recognized. I think we've got 12
Wow.
individuals who have banners hung
Yeah.
along the main thoroughfare here in Daytona Beach for the month of February. And they're going to launch that on Thursday at Bethune. But we're going to be talking about that because two of those individuals are people that they were very close to me. One is Judge Hatchett, who of course went on to become Florida Supreme Court Justice, and of course one of my mentors, and of course Louise McGill, otherwise known as Mutt T, who used what she had in her hands. She used her hands to create and to cook some of the best food in Daytona Beach. She's responsible for a few of these pounds around my middle, and then went on to, and then of course helped us in our restaurant. And so I think back when you talk about the gift of what God gives you, He gives you that gift to use. And so for those in our listening audience, I just want you all to reflect on that. Some of you all right now are thinking, say, well, what is it that I can do good? What is it am I good at? And if I can be good at this, why can't I use it to make money? To help take care of my family. You know, because unfortunately, I don't think we've seen the worst of the impact of the Trump administration in our community. And again, there are people that, for whatever reason, he and his people don't seem to like educated black people. They're doing everything they can to try to help cut off the opportunities for education. So we have to look at, what am I good at? What do I have in my hands? God asked that question of Moses, did he not?
Yes, sir.
Way back when.
Yes, sir.
And that's been a continuing thread down through the generations upon generations. And so I'm just glad that we could have that conversation. Oh wow, Terrence, I don't know if we're ready for that. You ready for the commercial break? Let's go ahead and do that at this point. We'll take a short pause, and we'll be right back. Those of you that are on Facebook, stay with us. Don't go anywhere. And we're going to take that pause and come back in just a few, and we'll wrap up for today. We got a great conversation going on. There are a few other questions I want to hit my guests with. I'm interviewing Dr. Chester Wilson here of Daytona Beach. So back in a minute.
At PC 101 and Tax Right Services, we're here to handle your taxes with expertise. Whether it's this year's taxes or catching up on past years, we've got you covered. Schedule your one-on-one appointment today. Reach us at 386-363-5324. That is 386-363-5324. PC 101 and Tax Right Services, where taxes are done right. With convenient locations in Daytona and Ormond Beach, we make tax time stress-free and simple.
Prima Broadcasting, Inc. is a registered 501c3 nonprofit. This means your donations are 100% tax deductible. The support from listeners just like you is what keep this station on the air. Feel free to visit our website, joy1063fm.com, to donate, or call 386-256-4706 for more ways to give. Thank you for your continued support.
The unexpected arrest of a friend or family member is no fun. One way out, Bail Bonds is here for you day or night. Offering bail bonds, flexible payment plans, professional notary services, and even warrant checks to keep you informed. For more information, 386-214-6949. That's 386-214-6949. One way out, Bail Bonds. Your way out when you need it most.
One way out, Bail Bonds.
Excitement is in the air. Join the Pilot Club of the Halifax area for a Taste Around the World fundraising event at 12 o'clock noon on February 7th in the Word and Praise Community Church Gymnasium, located at 1135 6th Street in Daytona Beach. Enjoy international cuisine, exciting raffle baskets, and live music by Daniel Saxman Fuqua. Tickets are just $20. Call 310-738-0432 to get yours today. For more information, email pilotclubofhalifax@gmail.com or follow us on Facebook at Pilot Halifax. Mark your calendar for February 7th at 12 o'clock noon to enjoy a taste around the world. Tune in to Daytona Beach Radio with your host, Donna Gray Banks. This is the city's most exciting news and information program. Here on Joy 106.3 FM, every Wednesday beginning at 12 noon. Don't miss it. Pilot Club of the Halifax area, 2026 fashion show, calling all businesses and entrepreneurs. Join the Pilot Club of the Halifax area for our annual fashion show and luncheon fundraiser March 21st, 2026 at Bethune-Cookman University. Vendor spaces are just $100, and sponsorships start at $500. Email halifaxpilotclub@gmail.com or call 386-852-1632. Partner with the Pilot Club of the Halifax area, where we do care more and be more.
Special thanks and support to WAIG comes from R.J. Gaines Funeral Home, where Alexander C. Wynn III, licensed funeral director and owner. R.J. Gaines Funeral Home provides full burial services, entombment, cremation, transporting services, pre-planning arrangements, and consultations. R.J. Gaines Funeral Home is located at 804 Dr. Mary McLeod Bethune Boulevard. R.J. Gaines Funeral Home, 386-253-7686.
Welcome back. We are so glad that you could be with us today. We're interviewing a very dear friend of mine, Dr. Chester Wilson. And of course, we're talking about we started off talking about mental health, and that's what we initially said we were going to do, but I think it expanded even more because of it being Black History Month, because of the legacy of so many of our founders, so many of our ancestors, all of which shows us to where we are today. And, even during the break, we were still talking about, what are the opportunities for our young generation? How do we help them to see that, for example, that was a young lady that was on, I think it might have been CBS News a couple weeks ago. I just happened to be walking through when I saw it, and she actually had created a jingle, and it was for Dr. Pepper. And it was only a very simple. She said, "Dr. Pepper is good and nice." Mm-hmm. That's the only phrase, but she said it and sung it in a way and added a little jingle to it, to the point where it got picked up on TikTok.
Right.
Dr. Pepper people found out about it.
Mm-hmm.
They reached out. They tracked her down. She lives in a little small town in Mississippi. Okay.
They were never found.
They tracked her down, and as I understand, she received they paid her for the rights, and something like $2 million for the rights, and then they used that jingle, her song, with her singing it. That was used at a football game. I think it was not one of the playoff games from a couple weeks ago. And now she's got a list of other companies that are pursuing her.
That was the catalyst for what was to come for her. And I mean, it's the same thing. You saw me at an event one time and you said, "What are you doing here?" And I said, "I'm the announcer."
Yeah.
Somebody heard me talking and they said, "You have a radio voice." And I was like, "What?" And she was like, "How about being the announcer for our event?" And I'm thinking to myself, I've never even thought about that. And yet that opened up another stream of getting paid to do something, me announcing people as they come on the stage. So when you look at it, you could just be doing what you do and what you love, and an opportunity comes. My mind flashed back to when I was working in juvenile justice services. I used to tell now I call them kids, that were clients that were in services. They would be doing stuff, and of course they are incarcerated for hot wiring cars and stealing and all of those things that they shouldn't be doing.
Right.
And I oftentimes used to have groups with them and tell them, why don't you turn those services into something for good? For instance, I was sharing that for an individual that's stealing cars, they actually pay you to go repossess cars.
How about that?
If you want the ad to rush to it, go become a tow person where you back in there and get the car out quickly and get out. There are so many opportunities for getting paid the legal way so that you don't have to get in trouble. And still yet, you're using the gift that's within your hand. You're just turning it around for something good.
All right.
So imagine them paying me. I didn't know growing up that people actually purchase boats and disappear with them without paying for them. I didn't know that, right?
Okay.
That was way beyond my pay grade.
Okay.
But now that I know that, when I was going through my security training, one of the things they were actually advertising for was repossession people. So they want you to go and find these missing boats and bring them back. They're going to actually pay you to do it.
How about that?
So all of these skills that you have, there's literally somebody out there who's willing to pay for it if you would just advertise it the right way.
And folks, so I want you to get as we might say, get your the endorphins moving, and think about
Right.
what he's saying as it relates to what you have skills at doing. And maybe these are hidden skills that you haven't even thought about using
Right.
before. Maybe you are good at cooking. I mean, I remember how we launched a restaurant business based upon what my wife had been doing at Bethune in a catering context. We did it for as long as we chose to do it, but it was again taking what you had in your hand,
Right.
and using that,
Right.
using that for your own benefit and the benefit of your family. And I mean, the list is endless. And if you want to call in and talk about what we've been talking about, do so today at area code 386-868-3411. We always like to keep that on the that number there available, so those of you that are watching on Facebook can do so. But give us a call here. We'd love to talk with you if you have an idea that you've been dreaming about pursuing. Some of you out there write poetry. Some of you out there are have books that you have not yet produced. And there are hosts, I mean, songs that you're writing. I mean,
Right.
jingles. Who would have thought that young lady could write a jingle? And in fact, she was laying in bed. They showed how it was a TikTok video.
Yeah.
She was laying in bed and she was just singing. She said, Dr. Pepper's good and nice. Do-do-do-do-do-do. And next thing you know,
She's
it
gone
gets picked
viral.
up. And now it went viral. People loved it. And next thing you know, now she is doing those jingles, not only for Dr. Pepper, but
She
I
just
saw
said,
part of the list. They had I think Popeyes or Bojangles had reached out to her. There were about 5 or 6 other national companies that reached out to her that want her to come up with jingles for their
And
products.
she's got enough voice for them all.
Yes.
You know, and I love challenging people when they come to me saying, what can I do? Tell me about what do you do? And I don't even just extend that to the public. I also bring that into my own household. My son, who just recently graduated college, he plays the keys. Guess what we're doing with that skill set? It's out there.
Okay.
He's just playing the keys in church, not thinking about it. Now churches are paying him to play. Now, he just left my office when I was coming here. Dad, someone called me about playing in a jazz band. Dad, somebody called me. And it's now continuous just by doing what he loves to do. I would have never thought picking up a career with the keys, but guess what? It's working for him, and they're paying him money. I said, son, in some cases they're paying you more money an hour. Yeah, I need to catch on to this. But I also look at my wife. My wife opened a bookkeeping business. You know, just by something she thought about. She says, well, I don't like the taxes part of this. I don't like this part of the finances, so I only want to focus on this. And then you know what? People came along and said, you need to hire a bookkeeper before you come to a CPA, which made her business profitable.
Wow.
You know, now she only takes so many clients, but
Right.
But-
she's teaching and she's doing the bookkeeping
Yes.
piece
Mhm.
as well.
she's doing both.
Yeah.
And so when you look at this, I even incorporated this within my own house. Use what's in your hands. If you use what's in your hands, you can love what you do. You know, you don't have to sit outside in your car wondering, should I go to work today? Do I want to eat or pay the mortgage today? But you actually get to go do what comes easy to you.
Yes.
You know, when people ask me, you do all of these 15 million things. Yes, I do. I work a lot. But to me, it doesn't really seem like work because it's what I do. And I get to have all of my hands in this. And I think the best part for me is that I often hear is people say, pick one thing and be good at it. Well, I'm good at more than one thing. And they pay me for doing more than one thing.
Okay.
So why can't I do as much as I want, that I'm comfortable doing and get paid to do it?
But you know, even myself, I've noticed the evolution of my life story and the things that I'm doing now,
Right.
even down to this radio show. This was something that came about because of something else that I did previously, and that came about because of something else I did previously, and even down to the books that I've got 2 and 1 in the hopper right now. Those were all things, and I'm expecting those to take off at a higher level than even where they are now.
Well, that's back in the day when they used to call that irons or rods in the fire.
How about that?
So
How about that? And I probably got a few more, you know, because
That's
when
what
you
I'm
ask
saying.
the question, what do you have in your hands? And you think about what are you good at? What do you enjoy doing? I mean, I even incorporated that same phrase in the book that I wrote about how to keep your child from going to jail. That one talks about in a personal success plan, the question was asked, what are you good at it? What do you enjoy doing? And you're asking kids the same thing you're doing, asking them at a young age, you know, instead of getting into trouble, you start asking yourself, what are you good at, what you enjoy doing, how much you have fun at doing. And generally speaking, if you have fun at doing these things,
Redirect
then
them.
you will never, ever feel yourself getting bored or getting tired because you have fun doing it.
Yeah.
And it's something, as you said, that you can get paid for.
Exactly. I took a group of my my nephews, extended nephews, bonus nephews,
Yes.
church nephews.
We got 'em.
I took a group of them and ran a security class, put them all through it, just so that they can go to work. And then my goal for that was not to just go and work for somebody, but put in the 2 years, become a security manager, and go start your own firm.
Okay.
Wherever you are going to go, you have this and you can start it. So it's something to always lean back on and say, I have all of these things.
How many of your college students are involved with, as we say, side hustles that help them to be able to pay their way through school?
Well, that's interesting because last semester, and this is the first time I'm saying this, I pulled double duty. I was teaching entrepreneurship at Embry-Riddle and teaching entrepreneurship at BCU.
Okay.
And even this semester, I'm mentoring BCU students through their SEED program, which is an entrepreneur in economics program, development program that they have. And what we're doing is we're teaching them these same things. And the goal is not only for them to pitch a competition, but to actually implement these businesses. And so right now, what you will find on campus is that 2 students who had an idea that I gave to somebody else. I want to mention that.
Okay.
But these 2 students, they're now starting a storage business. And that is for students, once the end of the semester ends, you need somewhere to store your items. They come in and they store those items until you come back. So you don't have to throw them away, which is what we traditionally see, right? You don't have to throw them away and then come back and purchase them all over again. Okay. So that came from a concept. They're in the SEED program for entrepreneurship. They've developed this and now they've started this business.
Wow.
And so you see them doing hair and you see them doing nails, and there is just a bevy of activities that they have. But this goes back to them using what's in their hands.
What's in your hands?
I'm teaching an entrepreneurship class now at BCU with over 200 students in it. And we're going through this. And a part of my rebuttal back to them last night in a group chat was, find something that makes money that you do. And now I'm looking at some of these projects that they are coming up with, and I'm like, well, this is real good.
Okay.
This is some good stuff, but it is an opportunity for them to say, well, I don't have to wait until my career develops 20 years down the road. I can actually make money while doing other things as well, too. Because as we know, it's taking that and more to survive for some people.
That's right. That's right. Well, we have truly enjoyed this opportunity to talk today. Initially, we were going to talk just about mental health.
That's what we're supposed to be talking
I'll
about.
tell you what, the mental health aspect actually fuels and feeds into, because if you got your mind is good.
That is the truth.
If your health is good.
That is the
then
truth.
you can do all these things that we're talking about. So, and maybe even in reverse order, if you're doing some of the things that you enjoy doing, that you like doing, then that would also help fuel a complete and total, what should I call it? That it will help your mental health.
Yes, sir.
If you got money in your pocket, it'll help your
You
mental
feel
health.
real good. You feel really good.
All right. Well, again, folks, we're glad that you could be with us today. Boy, that hour went by real quick.
Yes.
But we are excited, and we'll be looking forward to having Dr. Woodson come back at some point in the future when we can get it to work into his busy schedule, as you can tell.
You got me,
But
Judge.
it's all positive. It's all good. And we're excited, and I'm looking forward to hearing even greater things from his future and the things that he's doing and the influences that he's having upon students and people throughout this community. So, again, my brother, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Much appreciated.
Yes, sir.
And until next week, folks, we look forward to being back with you again on The Judge Speaks. In the meantime, don't forget, Culture View starts up this coming weekend.
Yes.
It's a great opportunity for you to be able to go out and see some dynamic photo exhibits of people that are doing wonderful things here and throughout this community. And I will assure you that if you'll get inspired, and next thing you know, you'll find yourself ready to do those things that you've been only thinking about, maybe talking about. But again, it's Black History Month. We're celebrating our people and their great things that they've done down through the years. So it's an opportunity for you to contribute to the culture. God bless you. God keep you till next week. Thank you.